How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back. It is Wednesday. It is a fantastic Wednesday. I'm feeling like crap today, guys. Feeling like crap today. Not gonna lie with you. I look rough. I feel rough. It hit me. I would say at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. 3 o'clock. I was good all day, and then all of a sudden I got a sore throat. And that's how you know. Like, right when you get that little sore throat, you're like, oh boy, here it comes. And once that sore throat hit, I was like, oh no. And then I got the body aches and everything started to hit me. And it was like, well, screw it. We got to talk about Xavier Lucas tonight. So I got to get on here. So I'm on tonight. We're good. We're going to persevere. We're going to make it through there. But Aaron, I got Aaron with me tonight here. Aaron's going to, he's going to have to carry most of this. Hunter's going to carry a lot too. He's got a hockey report for us tonight. So can't wait for that. But Aaron, how are we doing on this Wednesday? Hopefully better than I'm feeling, right? Hopefully you're doing a little bit better than I'm feeling.
Dude, it's always something, right? I don't want to be that guy to just be a negative Nancy, right? But it is like I know how you feel. Like for me, it's always I'll get over one thing, boom, I'll get something else, and boom, boom. But like it's never a smooth ride, at least for me. Could be worse. I count my blessings, but could be worse. But it's going, man. I'm excited for tomorrow night, obviously with the college football playoff, but just a lot of sports going on, and It's kind of like the Michael Jordan flu game for you. Like I know you're gonna you still got the energy. I can see the energy still coming out of you. When I'm sick, I'm not worth a crap. I'll put it that way. So
we'll see what happens about 30 minutes in here. But hey, does Penn State play tomorrow night or they play Friday?
Yeah, Thursday, which is I don't know. I'm okay with it, but I'm off part of Friday, so it's fine. You know what I mean?
That's too much. That's too much for one close to you got the Eagles on Sunday against the Pack there. You got the Penn State. You want them on Thursday. You need that little grace period just in case Penn State loses. You need the grace period because just hypothetical world. Say Penn State loses, and then the Eagles lose on Sunday, and it's within a 2-day span. You would lose your marble. You wouldn't know what to do. So giving yourself that 2-day gap in between there might be a good thing. You get over the Penn State, Eagles lose. You got about 18 whatever. You got a while to get over that one, and then you're back. It's the longest offseason in sports. Like that, it's ridiculous how long it is for the NFL to come back. Like it's the longest offseason in all of sports.
I agree because you factor in like pitchers and catchers reporting for baseball, so it doesn't feel like it feels like for me like in baseball on the flip side of the coin, spring training to the regular season feels like an eternity. It's like okay, but no, I get you, and the only other thing I'll say on that is it sucks for everybody that's working early on a Friday, like people starting at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, putting this Penn State game on a Thursday night. Like this isn't just Penn State versus Iowa. Like we're talking about the last 4 teams in the nation, and likewise for Notre Dame fans, these are huge fan bases, so it's like I get why college football, they have to slot them in when they have to slot them in, but a lot of people are gonna have to go to bed at halftime just to survive tomorrow, Friday. So it is kind of a shame, but I'm excited regardless there. So
I am excited for that game because Penn State, Notre Dame, those two are eerily similar in the way that they want to win football games. Love the run game. They play the game the same style. Those two for style points are going to be about as close as they can get. The Texas and that Texas-Ohio State game, I don't know. Like, if Texas got a darn good defense, but looking at what Ohio State's been able to do offensively in this college football playoff so far, it's like, okay, if Texas defense can slow them down, what does the game look like now? I don't know. Like, it's going to be some good games. I think those are going to be some really good games. I just hope – I don't know who I want, to be honest with you. I can't tell, until game time, right when the game starts. Then I can cheer for a team. I don't hate Notre Dame. I don't know how I feel about Penn State sometimes. I like them, then I don't like them. We play them. I don't like them for a couple weeks. That's how I go, right? Ohio State, I hate them. I like Texas. So I got Texas. I'm rooting for Texas there. But after that, I don't know who I'm rooting for in that other game. It's going to be a wait and see, like that Lions and Vikings game. I couldn't pick who I was going to cheer for until it started. And then I'm watching the Vikings and I'm like, yeah, I'm cheering for the Lions. This is it. And it turned out to be a Sam Darnold kind of seeing ghosts kind of game again. Like, I don't know if he tried, like, it wasn't the Sam Darnold we've been seeing, right?
No.
He almost like flipped the switch backwards in his head. And I don't know if it's because of the pressure of the game, right? He knew it was on the line. And if it was the pressure of that game that got to him, I don't know, because he was missing guys wide open. I mean, there was a couple times Naylor came across wide open. He had Addison wide open. He was just missing throws. And missed multiple touchdown throws. So just something we hadn't seen out of Sam Darnold yet there, Aaron. But we're going to get more to that. We'll get more to that later on here in the show. I want to get to right away this Xavier Lucas madness that we talked about a while back there. He's got a lawyer now. He's got a lawyer. His lawyer is by the name of Darren Heitner. Darren Heitner is, and this is the best part, Aaron. This is the best part. So we talked about what was going on with, the Xavier Lucas situation, the possible tampering from the University of Miami, right? So Darren Heitner is an NIL instructor of law at the university. He's from Miami. Big Miami fan. He's now Xavier Lucas's lawyer. Is this like a PR stunt? Is this what it is to this guy? Is a PR stunt? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? When you go back to his profile, he's the founder of Heitner Legal, focusing on sports, entertainment, intellectual property, and business law, teach NIL at Miami Law. It baffles me. It does. Like, this guy, we know that Xavier Lucas wants to go to Miami. We know Miami wants Xavier Lucas. Now they have one of their NIL guys who teaches the class, right? I guarantee you Xavier Lucas is going to jump in this guy's class because the whole class will be about Xavier Lucas. Like, that's just how it's going to be. They're going to teach the class about his life. It's just ridiculous. And then you see his post out there. I saw one of his posts today. Let's clear something up. Xavier Lucas owes Wisconsin nothing. The school is holding him hostage. It's disgusting, illegal, and will be crushing for recruiting. Probably not, because they just got one of Miami's cornerbacks just transferred from Miami to Wisconsin. So not crushing yet, but thank you. Wisconsin can easily do the right thing and place him in the transfer portal. The silence on their end is deafening. I want to clear something up. Wisconsin has, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know if the total has updated yet, but I believe last time I looked, like 22 transfers going into the portal. 22. Out of 22 transfers, you're telling me we just chose one guy out of 22. And that was the guy? It was Xavier Lucas. That's the guy we're like, yeah, let's toy with him. And now that it's going to court, Wisconsin's still not talking. They're still holding their ground. They're still not throwing them in the transfer portal. Why? There has to be a reason. Why has Xavier Lucas not said anything since the 19th of December? Why has this whole thing been quiet except for this doorknob coming from Miami Law? Good for you, buddy. Get your little PR stunt up here on Twitter. There you are. I see you now. I don't understand. And then you go around and, now it's a big thing, right? Now it's a big thing all over social media. It's free Xavier Lucas. Let's free him, right? Let's free this guy. And, the Badgers are doing him dirty. They're holding him hostage. I really do. If Xavier Lucas signed a contract with the Badgers and it said that you were going to play for the University of Wisconsin or something along those lines, and that we were going to give you X amount of dollars to do it, and you had to do this for us, and he didn't meet those standards, that they just hold their guns. I hope they do. Because that is the best thing for college sports. Because if he gets away with this crap, if you can just walk away from a contract, something binding you, right? A contract is something that binds you, not just in college football, not in college basketball, not in baseball, whatever it is. It binds you in life, right? A land contract, a mortgage, whatever it is, through the bank, whatever you got, right? A contract is something that binds you to something until you pay it off or you work it off or you do whatever. Xavier Lucas apparently owes Wisconsin something, because why in the actual F would they be fighting this tooth and nail and not speaking and taking this to court now if it didn't mean anything? If there wasn't something that they're like, yeah, dude, you can't get out. Like, you can't go. I don't want him back. I don't. I do not want Xavier Lucas back. Like, would I love his talents back? 1,000%. But do I want a guy back who doesn't want to play for the University of Wisconsin? Not a chance. I want him to go away, right? But I also don't want I don't want to see college programs keep getting screwed over by different athletes coming and going, right? There was that guy, he was at Miami, or not at Miami. Sorry, not at Miami. He was at Alabama, decided to go, I believe it was to Nebraska, and he signed, or it was at Iowa or Nebraska, signed that big contract, and then backed out of the contract, took all that NIL money, and then went back to Alabama. You can't have that. You can't. So if Xavier Lucas signed a dotted line, if he signed that dotted line and it holds him accountable, he has to hold up to that end of the bargain. That's plain and simple. That's how it should be. That's how contracts work. And that's the only way that college sports get fixed. If we keep letting guys walk away from crap like this, and all they got to do is, oh, yeah, I'm going to take my $3 million. I'm going to take my $3 million and I'm just going to bounce, right? I'm going to go down to Miami now. Like, I'm done with Wisconsin. Now, he didn't make $3 million, but hypothetically, I would take my money. I'm going to bounce, right? And then Wisconsin, well, they're like, dude, it says in the contract here that you have to do this for us. Otherwise, you got to pay that money back. What are you going to do, right? So there has got to be something holding this up here. And this doorknob, just comes in and hurts my head. That's all he does. Like, it just hurts my head when he comes out, because his actual statement that he made was, he said that I have not heard anything directly from the athletic department as to why he has not had his name put in the transfer portal. I'm very interested in learning if they have justification, what that justification is. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no term or terms in the contract that give them the right to prevent him from transferring. Therefore, there is a contract. Therefore, something in that contract is telling the University of Wisconsin and the transfer and everything else at the University of Wisconsin, hey, hold him back. What is going on, right? So we have to wait and see at this. This is getting better and better. This is getting better and better. And the PR stunt that Numbnuts here down at the University of Miami is trying to pull off here by coming up and being he wants to be the warrior, right? The big bad guy. I don't know. I don't know, Aaron. Like, what are your thoughts? You're hearing all this. You're hearing me going off about this. What are your thoughts coming out? Because this is, it's wild. It really is. Like, we haven't heard anything like this out of the transfer portal yet.
Yeah, it's funny that it's happening. Not funny. I don't want to rain on the parade, but it's convenient, right? That it's happening.
We're a mess. We're a mess. We just say screw it. Like, yes.
It provides content though, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise. Like in that respect, right?
That's what I want. I want chaos, baby. I want chaos. This is
you
what
wanted
I
it.
want.
You got it, right? You wanted it. You got it. It's I don't know. From everything I read, I see, because now it really kind of hit the fan today, with all this going on. With the attorney and, the fact that he teaches a course. From what I see, it's like a law course, but it's almost specializing. Like there is a focus on the NIL part of the course, which is what do you want to say? 8 years ago, NIL wasn't even a thought. That doesn't even exist. 5 years ago, it slowly gets implemented, probably around then. And now, you see it full scale, you're seeing stuff like this. So it's just wild, this NIL, just the NIL thing by itself has gotten, we talk about it, it's the wild, wild west. But this is really just pure chaos, honestly, just because, like you said, why, if I'm looking at this bird's eye view, neutral feeling about Wisconsin, neutral feeling about this kid, right? Just going into it. Okay, what do I think of the situation? Why would they want this black cloud of we're going to hold this kid. This kid's going nowhere. Maybe if he was, I don't know, Vince Young on Texas, you might pull that. But even then, it's still going to the public perception. If, I don't really think they are holding him against his will. But let's just say they are. Let's say they are. That would not be a good look. That wouldn't be a good look. That, he does have a point. Oh, transfers and recruiting might suffer. Sure. Yeah, that's valid, but I don't buy it either. I just, they've allowed what you said, 20 kids to go out.
I was just looking. Let's see here. Ooh, I just had the list up. 18. Well, there's 18 transfers coming out. I'm trying to see transfers going out. I think it's 22. Last time I checked, it was 22. So we're going number 22.
Right. So over 20, they're allowing 20 kids, over 20 kids, let's just say. And then, this is a special case. He's not going anywhere. I don't buy, there's just too much negative that can come from that. And you're already sure, they're getting some negative light now just because of this situation. But I mean, if they win in court, then they get no, what I mean? They wash their hands free of this. So it's crazy. I wonder, I hope it comes out what he like, because I am definitely trusting the Wisconsin University side of this more than Xavier Lucas. That's where I'm at on it. I just hope it comes out that, he signed a contract. He's not going to like, there's got to be something specific that, why he can't hit the portal. But I hope throughout this court process, I hope it does come out that like why, right? Because if it never comes out why, and it's just, swept under the rug for whatever it goes away, like that just won't be any fun. I mean, I hope, for Wisconsin's sake, they don't get damaged in this, but I really don't see that. I don't see it unless really they're holding it back. But I just like 85% of me tells me at least that I don't believe that,
Yeah, I've heard it might affect them in South Florida and all that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm really worried about South Florida. Like at this point in the NIL days, are the Badgers really recruiting hard in South Florida? Are they going to pull the top of the talent from down there? Probably not. Probably not anymore. But maybe. I don't know how it's going to affect. We got to wait and see what that. It didn't affect them pulling a transfer out of the University of Miami. I believe, what is his name? Deani Hill is the guy's name there, coming a cornerback from Miami there. I mean, I believe he's 6 foot, 172, had a pretty solid year last year. Let's see here. He's coming in as a 3-star transfer. Solid grab for the Badgers, bringing in a corner from down there. And then Ricardo Hallman, your star cornerback from this last season, is coming back now. So we got that information finally. Ricardo Hallman's back. So it's Hallman and Hill, and those two are now holding the help wanted sign together. So that's great. That's great. Now we got 2 guys holding that help wanted sign. But no, I mean, the quarterback room's starting to, you needed to get base, right? The base had to be set. You have Hallman, you have Hill now. I like that. I like having those 2 guys in. You added Latmer. I mean, you have some pieces coming in, some guys from, I don't want to say lesser universities, but smaller schools there. Some guys who are going to kind of float from that safety spot up to that corner spot there. I believe like Trainer, and you have, let's see here, who's the other guy? Matt Young, the 6'3", 215-pound safety there. He could be like a Wohler. He could be a kind of a floater out there for you. So you're going to have pieces coming in, right? And then whoever, I mean, you're going to grab more pieces out there. You have some young guys coming in the recruiting class, and then you're also going to probably grab more transfers there. So we'll see what the Badgers do. I mean, but good to see Hallman. I love that. When I got that news across my screen that Ricardo Hallman was returning to Madison for his 5th season, I was like, yes. Like that's awesome. Like that's awesome. We talked about him a lot last season, right? Ricardo Hallman, it was Hallman Island out there. Like nobody wanted to throw his way. I mean, you got to have somebody like that, right? Great base to start with, great leader. With Wohler gone too, you're kind of redesigning that secondary. You have to start from somebody, right? Start with the leader out there. Hallman can be that leader for you, and then you slowly build that base underneath them. So I like it. I like it there. Plus, Xavier Lucas might still be in Luke Fickell's basement at that point. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what kind of happens with the Xavier Lucas situation now. I mean, just madness. I love it. I love it. Like this is the stuff that you hope for. And I hope it does go in the Badgers' favor that there was a contract and he signed it and it had him held up to accountability, right? Because these guys are not held accountable anymore for these money that they are getting from these universities. I would love to see the Badgers come back with a backhand and say, here it is. Here's the paper, boys, and this is what it says on it. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for something from the University of Wisconsin telling me, hey, good stuff there. So I got one across. The Badgers got a new quarterback coach. Aaron, do we have a name? What's this guy's name out there?
Let's see.
We just got one across the text in line there, and
Kenny,
I saw rumblings.
Yeah, Kenny Gilton, Guiton. Could be saying that wrong.
Right here, there he is. He was I believe he was a quarterback back in the day there.
Last season he spent at University of Washington as a wide receiver coach. Let's see here.
He was a former quarterback. That's what I'm seeing off of his Wikipedia. Is the wide receivers coach at the University of Wisconsin. Held that position since 2024. He most recently was interim offensive coordinator at Arkansas. Let's see here.
Or yeah, Wisconsin. My bad. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there he is. He's the quarterback. Yep. So he just got basically promoted, I guess. The quarterback's coach there is what I'm seeing. But I mean, I don't know much about Kenny. To be honest with you, I don't know much about Kenny. I'd hate to speak on him. We can study it up, though. We'll study it up. We'll talk more about Kenny on the next one. We'll talk more about Kenny here on the show. That was a bold question coming in across the text.
I'll give you something here that I guess we're just too young in this respect. But from 2009 to 2013, he was a quarterback at Ohio State. Threw for 893 and 16 touchdowns. So I don't 893 and 16 touchdowns. So I guess he just was a fill-in guy. I don't think he started because those numbers. Unless they ran the crap out of the ball, you figure 4 years and he threw for 900 yards. I just feel like that's not a starter per se.
All right, here we go. So you wanted to find something. Here we go. 2023 led the Razorbacks wideout core out there for the Arkansas. He was with Arkansas then. Their Razorbacks offense tallied 450 total yards in 2 of their final 4 games in 2023. Not bad. Not a bad little way to end the season there for Arkansas. 510 total yards there in a win over Florida International on November 18th. He's put together some pretty good wide receiver cores. He understands, route running, everything like that. He gets all that. You wanted a quarterback's coach, you got a quarterback's coach. Like I said, we'll study more on this guy. We'll get back to that question. We were not prepared for that question, to be honest with you. We knew that they hired one. I guess we just didn't do our homework. Right. We didn't do our homework on that. So we'll get back to that question there a little bit later. But Aaron, let's get to a little bit of Packers here quick before we hit our first ad break. I want to talk a little bit Packers, and then I want to get back into the Packers, Hunters High. We got a whole bunch to get to today. We got a whole bunch to get into. So my first question, and this goes to anybody out there who's tuning into the show tonight. I would love to hear what you guys think on this one. I saw a lot of people blaming Matt LaFleur for Christian Watson's injury. Why is Christian Watson out there? Why is he out there? He shouldn't be out there, right? He's rushing him back. And I get it. I do. I understand it, right? Was he completely ready to go? I don't know. Probably not. He was banged up. He practiced, seemed fine, went out there. It was a non-contact injury. That's what makes it worse. I think that's what makes it the worst, is that it was a non-contact injury. So now you're looking at Matt LaFleur and you're saying it was that week that he just basically went to make a move and it was done. And I believe it was Jalen Johnson. That's that cornerback for the Bears there. He walked over and that guy's awesome. I don't like the Bears. I don't like the Bears. I didn't know I liked him. But when Watson went down, that's Jalen Johnson, right? That's that good cornerback from the Bears there. When Watson went down there, Jalen Johnson walked up, put his hand on him, called for the trainers and stayed with them up until the trainers got over there. That was awesome. That was hands down one of the greatest things that I think I've seen. I did not expect that. Most, some cornerbacks would have just left. They would have walked away, whatever. He stayed with them, put his hand on him, just stay down, stay calm. Almost protecting him too, because if the play comes his way, you got to help this guy, get out of the way. So, it was awesome. That was an awesome scene there. But do we blame Matt LaFleur for that injury to Christian Watson? Because for me, no, I don't. I don't. I hate the thought of, if I'm an Eagles fan right now, be honest with you, I hate the thought of Jalen Hurts taking off almost 3 weeks of football and coming back in a playoff game and trying to do something. Now, I get Christian Watson's a wide receiver and it's a little bit different, but I want him in game action mode. Matt LaFleur's probably his goal was not Christian Watson playing 4 quarters. It was not Christian Watson playing probably 3 quarters. It was Christian Watson. Josh Jacobs only played 2 quarters, right? So, you're talking about a guy where you're probably expecting him only to play 2 quarters anyways. So, Matt LaFleur just wants to get him reps. He wants to get his starting offense reps before he's going to pull him basically out and then go to his backups, and just move on with the game. And Christian Watson, I mean, basically tears the knee's done. The knee gets tore up. He's done for the season, potentially into next season, maybe deep. I don't know. They said, I mean, there's a lot of things that they were talking about, other things inside of his knee that blew up there. But I mean, Aaron, would you take any blame towards Matt LaFleur in this situation for playing Christian Watson when all you can really go off of is what does Watson say? What does the trainer say? If the trainer says it's up to Watson and Watson tells you I feel great, what are you to tell him, dude, you have to sit the pine today? Like what is your objective there, right? I mean, if Watson says I'm good to go, I'm gonna play my boys. Like I want him out there. I want him to get the reps with Jordan Love, get the reps with starting offense. I want him up there. So, I mean, Matt LaFleur is just doing what the trainers and what Watson are telling him. He said that point blank before the Vikings game. He said that point blank before that Bears game. Is that if Watson said he was good to go, I'm gonna say he's good to go. Watson told him he was good to go. All right, let's do it. Right? I don't know. I can't blame LaFleur, and a lot of people out there blaming LaFleur. No, you can't. No, you can't.
I mean, I agree. I kind of stink when it comes to talking about stuff like this when there's like that middle ground we don't know, right? Like, but to me, this situation is kind of black. I mean, at least what's being conveyed to us, you never know behind closed doors. Matt LaFleur might have went up to the trainer and said, make sure he's good to go. You know what I mean? Like we don't know if those conversations go on, but these people on their keyboards and making, saying, oh, this and that, like we don't know. We're not inside the building. You know what I mean? We're not the trainer. We're not the coach. We're not the president of operations. So if he's telling us, like, all we can go off is what Matt LaFleur said, right? And if he said, hey, Watson needs to tell the trainer, or vice versa, the trainer needs to tell Watson, it's between those three parties. It's the coach, player, and trainer. I mean, if you want to point blank, maybe the trainer didn't do their due diligence enough, maybe, but it's one of those things like, anybody can go out there and pop an ACL at any point in any sport. Like in track and field, you can pop an ACL. Like it's just, it's one of those things. Like, and I can't be mad at like Matt LaFleur for that, because like you said, he has information. He's doing what he's doing with the information he's giving. And then it's just, okay, he's good enough what is he? 80%, 70%. Like we didn't even know that. You know what I mean? So for people to say, oh, it's all LaFleur's fault, like that's nonsense. Like that's nonsense, because they, I don't know. Trajan doesn't know. The only people that really know are those three people, Now, if it was mishandled, maybe we'll never know. But the thing is, we're going off of, hey, we're told he's good to go. I'm going to run him out there. And like you said, it's unfortunate that he gets injured late in the game. And then, if they just would have kind of taken care of business, you figure. But that's the game of what ifs, too. Like, it could be the first play from scrimmage in Philly. Boom, he blows the ACL out there then, So it's you can't be mad. I mean, that doesn't make logical sense to me.
No, and that's the thing. And that's just what I wanted to get to bottom to. If anybody was listening that was like kind of on the fence, didn't know how they were feeling about the situation. I mean, that's point blank. How do you blame the head coach for just doing what he's told, right? And but there's a lot of people blaming Matt LaFleur for a lot of things right now. And when we come back, we're going to get to our ad break here, our first ad break of the night there. When we come back, we want to talk about some of those things because, well, there's some things where I'm like, yeah, you can blame them for that. There's others where it's like, maybe not so much. So we're going to get into a little bit more of Matt LaFleur. We're going to talk a lot of Packers tonight. We got a lot of Badger talk. We got lots to get into yet tonight here. So we'll see you guys on the other side of our first ad break.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in to see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. Next, we have Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood. Have you been injured recently, whether it was at work, shoveling snow, or mowing the lawn? Stop in and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. He will get you right, get you back to work, back to shoveling snow, back to mowing the lawn, doing whatever you were doing, feeling better than ever. And then we have Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear.
Great stuff there. Make sure you check out Game Day Supply. They got everything you need. Hockey, everything else. But you can also get, if you search Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades, when you're on the website there, you can find our merchandise too. Shirts, hoodies, whatever you want. They can probably, if you call down there, he can probably put whatever you want on whatever you want. That's how good he is down there. So call him up down there. Support us here on the show, everything like that. So that'd be great. Great stuff there. But I got one across the text in line. Like you guys talked about, Watson made the choice to keep playing. Players sit out for the simplest of things. He is a professional athlete. He made that final call. That's what we're saying. I mean, Matt LaFleur was going to leave it up to Watson if Watson felt like he was good to go. And, I mean, Watson's had an injury-riddled past, right? He's had an injury-riddled past, and we know that. So Matt LaFleur left it up to Watson. And if the trainer said he was good to go, Watson said he was good to go, who's Matt LaFleur to say, dude, you're one of my only starters? Because, I mean, Matt LaFleur said at point blank to start the week, my starters are going to play, right? They're going to play if they're healthy. He was healthy. That's what we were told. It happens. It sucks, but it happens. You have those crazy injuries, right? Alex Smith, when he blew out literally everything that could possibly blow on his knee. Tank Dell. Look at what happened to Dell down there with the Texans. I mean, it happens, right? Tank Dell was not injured going into that. It just happened. So Watson might have felt great, but guess what? You tweak the knee wrong. It's a cold surface. Sometimes you move around a little bit weird, and it sucks. It's the reality of it, but it sucks. And I hate it. I do hate it, but now we move on from it. So yeah, I completely agree there at Watson. It was his final call there. But we talked about Matt LaFleur going into the break there. And there's a lot of things that Matt LaFleur does that irritate me, right? His play calling sometimes irritates me. His clock management irritates the piss out of me, right? There's lots of things that he does that irritate me. But we have to look at the other side of it. He has now taken the youngest team in football to the playoffs 2 years in a row with an improving record. Let's go with that. He had an improving record from last year to this season. Now, did the team progress? That's where my worry comes with Matt LaFleur. Did they progress? Because if you look statistics, the Packers offense, they're big players, right? Kraft had a good year. Kraft had a great year. Outside of Kraft, though, Jaden Reed was up there in yards, but guess what? He was also up there in a really bad statistical category of drops. So you have that to worry about. Jordan Love, 3,389 yards this season. Last season there, he passed for over 4,000 yards. So you put that in a comparison between last year to this year. He had a 96 rating last season there at the final of the regular season there. This season, 96. Not bad. I mean, he's right in that same boat there with his rating. He hasn't had a terrible year, right? Everybody, you look at Jordan Love's stats and you're like, it's down, right? It's down. It's down from what we saw last year. But I think a lot of it has to do with, and we talked about this the other day, Aaron, you watch Jordan Love and it's like, he doesn't grip it and rip it anymore, right? I mean, I just saw a stat the other day. Jordan Love has the hardest thrown ball in the NFL ever. Mm-hmm. Hardest thrown ball this season to Tucker Kraft in the back of the end zone. And he threw that, if you rewatch that play, he threw that past two hands on a freaking dime to Tucker Kraft. But that was Jordan Love gripping and ripping, right? When was the last time that we can recall? We both sit there. We watch the Packer games. When was the last time we can recall watching Jordan Love just grip that baby and rip it, right? Wherever it was. I can't tell you. I can't. I can tell you the last time I saw him throw a back foot throw that went wafted up in the air and went to the sideline. I can tell you the last time I saw that. Vikings game, Bears game. We could go through the list every single game, right? But when's the last time he just put one in there, right? That's on a dime. I can't remember. And that's not my memory sucking. That's not my sickness going through me right now, right? Like old Ed, right? That ain't none of that. That's just me thinking back and saying to myself, Jordan Love doesn't test it anymore. If you want to be, because, you're going out to play Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia's got the number one pass defense. They give up the least amount of yards in the NFL. Least amount of yards. How you going to beat them, right? How you going to beat them? You can't do it with lollipops. You can't do it with indecisive throws. You can't do it by second-guessing yourself. You just got to go out there and grip and rip and just chuck that baby, right? First game out against the Eagles, the Packers lost that game themselves. Like, realistically, if we look back at that game, and I'm not saying, Aaron's an Eagles fan, so I don't want to completely kibosh his Eagles there. The Eagles didn't play a bad game, right? Not a bad game at all. But if you look at, what the Packers did in that game to hurt themselves, pre-snap penalties. We talk about it all the time. How do the Packers hurt themselves? Pre-snap penalties, right? And this is all kind of circling back to Matt LaFleur, so don't you guys worry. It's all circling back to Matt LaFleur. But the pre-snap penalties continuously all season long. This is week 1 of pre-snap penalties. You can go all the way to week 18 now, and the pre-snap penalties still rear their ugly head at times, which is a problem. You get into these big games, and if you hurt yourself, you had, what is this? What is this? What is the stat here? 10 penalties for 71 yards against the Eagles in game 1. 10 penalties for 71 yards. Guess what? You ain't winning many football games like that. You ain't winning many football games when you hurt yourself. Turnover battle. You look at the turnover battle in this one. Eagles turned the ball over 3 times, and that was all early, right? The Packers couldn't take advantage. It was the red zone. It was those red zone trips. Could the Packers punch it in, right? They didn't. They had problems. But you look at Saquon Barkley in this game, and this is not saying that, the Packers are going to be able to repeat this, but Saquon for a while there wasn't having a great game, right? He busted a couple open. Against the Packers there. But outside of that, Packers run defense wasn't playing bad. Like, they were holding their own with them there. A.J. Brown broke loose a couple times on you. Devontae Smith broke out on you a couple times there. The Packers, they're going to have – it's not going to be easy, right? This game won't be easy for them. But you look at this first game here, what killed them? Pre-snap penalties. The things that we talk about all the time. So if I'm looking at Matt LaFleur, and I'm looking at the blame that I can give Matt LaFleur, right? It can't be that he's got a young team. I am sick of that excuse. We talked about that enough. I'm sick of that excuse for the young team. It's the blame of, why is this team come into games not prepared? Because we talk about slow starts all the time. Every single matchup. Look at the slow start they had against the Eagles there. It was 6-0, but guess what? That was 2 red zone trips. That was 2 times, I believe the Packers got the ball in the red zone. And right here, let's see. They started at Philadelphia's 19-yard line, I believe. No, they started. Where did they start? Yeah, it was on Philadelphia's 19-yard line there. That's where they started the first. They're technically their second drive of the game, and then the third drive of the game was after the Eagles fumbled it, and then the Packers got it on Philadelphia's 13-yard line, and they ended up. Offensive holding on the first play, pushed them back 10 yards. Now they're on the 23. Another penalty on Dobbs pushed them back even further. When they were on Philadelphia's 3, got pushed back to the 13. There's 14 points. There's your difference in your entire game right there. And we could be talking, honestly, Aaron, we could be talking about a completely different scenario right now, right? If the Packers win week 1, we could be talking about a completely different, because then the narrative's different, right? They beat one of those top teams. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Eagles in week 1. So now the narrative's different. So, it's just, what could you blame Matt LaFleur for? I guess is what I'm coming back to. And it's the pre-snap penalties. It's the unprepared heading into games like this, the slow starts, the inconsistency. That's the big thing. And why are we seeing, what is the focus of these guys, right? Because, drops are one thing, right? I get drops happen. You're going to drop a couple balls here and there. But some part of me goes back to the lack of focus. And it starts during the week. I heard Bill Michaels talking about it the other day. And he said, winning is done during the week. And he was talking about, what other people have said and stuff like that. But winning, preparing and everything like that, it's during the week, right? Then you come out on Sunday and you take care of business. It's not on Sunday that you have to learn about yourself. It's during the week. You got to prepare for this. You have to be ready, focused, dialed in. When you get to Sunday, then it's just about putting it all into play. I don't know if the Packers have gotten to that point, which is my worry, right? How well does Matt LaFleur prepare these guys for Sunday? Right? Because we've seen so much inconsistency out of this offense, so much inconsistency in the play calling, and just the lack of focus. And the focus comes back to what we were talking about before there too, with the pre-snap penalties and everything like that. That's focus. That's being, I don't want to say being coachable, but understanding. I'm trying to think of the right word to use for this one, but I mean, just being present, right? And that's where I think the Packers are kind of lacking at times. It's just the mental side of it. It's the mental side of the game. Yes, on paper, you're going to go into this game against the Eagles, and the Eagles are going to be more skilled than you, right? Look at the wide receiver room. You have A.J. Brown. You have Devontae Smith. Saquon Barkley in the backfield. I don't know what the disparity is between Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley. I saw an Eagles guy today. He made this chart, and he's like, Saquon's over, way up here, and Josh Jacobs is back here. And I'm like, oh, whoa. I don't think so. Like, I think Josh Jacobs and Saquon, like, Saquon's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Like, dude's like, if it wasn't a quarterback award for MVP, he would be my MVP. Like, no doubt in my mind. But, like, Josh Jacobs is dang good, too. Like, those two are really, I mean, I think Saquon's better. But I have Josh Jacobs, like, he's not right there, but he's close. Like, he's a close second, third. He's in that mark with him, I would say, for in my opinion. My opinion on Josh Jacobs. He's a fantastic runner. Like, watching Josh Jacobs run, it's like a guaranteed 2 to 3 yards per carry. If he gets hit at the line, he's taking you another 2 or 3. Like, I just love watching him run there. But, I mean, all in all, is there anything, I guess, Aaron, is there anything that you look at Matt LaFleur and you're like, we can blame you for this, right? We can blame you for this. There's some things that you can't really blame on him, right? You can't really blame the defense at times on him with Hafley. You can't blame this on him. You can't blame, what can you blame on him?
I think, what you had already kind of illustrated there. I mean, it's tough, right? Like, there's times where, I mean, to be a head coach, you're not just the head coach. Like, you're the police too of the locker room. Like, if, that's kind of where I don't want to just continuously bring Mike Tomlin up, but it seems like I always kind of find a way. It's like, how much dysfunction has gone on in that locker room, throughout the last 5, you think about Antonio Brown, you think about Le'Veon Bell situation, just a lot of like that type of stuff. And whether the coach is, that's the tough thing, right? Whether the coach is like 100% response, like, if guys, I'll bring it back to this. If guys are undisciplined, right, they're committing pre-snap penalties. Yes, the coach needs to get blamed for that. It sucks though if you just have players that are undisciplined though. Like, you know what I mean? How much, like, that's like, we have a good college professor, right? They prepare us for the test, this, that, the third. When we go take the test, like, yeah, that's on Trajan. That's on me. That's on each individual student. So it's tough. Like, the coach is going to get blamed no matter what. And I don't want to I don't want to take him off the hook of that. It's just, if you have, like, there are guys that are just undisciplined. Like, there are guys in the league. There was a guy, I forget this guy on the Eagles, but every time there, a guy would be close to the sideline, he would just try and murder him. And it's like, dude, every time you get called for a late hit, every time it's just a 15-yard penalty. Like, I'd see it at least once a game. And it's, if you have, like, I'm going to blame the coach. Yes. It just sucks if it is the actual player, like, select group of players that are committing these. Like, if you're seeing the same players commit penalties, I don't know how much I can blame at some point then you got to get those players out of there. If they can't, be disciplined, and you don't think it's the coach, if everybody else is kind of falling in line. So yeah, there's that. Looking prepared for games, that I do think, you blame LaFleur a little bit more than the penalties, just because, like, that is like, as the head coach, I don't care if he's a CEO head coach. I don't know. I don't care if he's a play calling head coach. Like, you have to have the team ready to, like, that should be a given. Like, these, you want to think at least 95% of the guys are there to win, right? You're going to have those guys that want to check, sure. But it's like, when you come out flat and flat and flat, like, that's what, I'm not going to say got Dougie P fired in Jacksonville, because, like, they turned into a dumpster fire. But, I mean, that type of thing happens, though. Like, you'll see a team like Houston this year, and I'm not saying 100% it's on DeMeco Ryans, but you see that different, like, vibe from them this year compared to last year. Like, last year they looked like out of the gate ready to go, clicking on all cylinders. When you see, like, I'm not saying every game's going to be, execution at its finest, But when you see game in, game out, game in, game out, team doesn't look ready. They look flat. They're giving up, wide open plays over the middle on defense, like just stuff like that. I mean, at some point, no matter who is really causing it, whether it is the players or the coach, LaFleur should get blamed just because that's the way it works, right? It's not always right or it's not always fair, but it's the way it is. Like if your team doesn't look prepared to play, at something like you're gonna take the blame regardless. Like we don't know exactly what happens if the players check out, whatever. But just like how we said with Luke Fickell with Wisconsin, right? Some like against big teams, they look ready to play. There's something there where LaFleur, it's like, some guys can't deliver speeches too. Like there's some coaches in this league where, like, I don't know if you ever saw that clip of Jonathan Gannon where he's on the Cardinals and he's like, which of these guys took the bus here? And like you could just hear a pin drop. Like there was no motivation there, but for whatever reason, that Cardinals team has kind of found something, So I don't know. What percent do you give to LaFleur? Like if they're not the two hitters there, if they're not prepared and a pre-snap penalty.
The pre-snap penalty, I guess it comes over time, right? The pre-snap penalty over time becomes annoying, and then it's a discipline thing, and that's something that you either gotta coach out of them or you gotta get rid of them. You have two choices. You can't afford the constant pre-snap penalties, the backbreakers. I'd rather have, I don't want to say I'd rather have less protection or I'd rather have a worse guy on my offensive line, but I'd rather take a 3/4 as good offensive lineman than a full, like, I don't know what your area would be. Trent Williams versus, if Trent Williams was committing all these penalties and I had a guy like, I don't know who else I'm thinking of off the top of my head here. But
Penny Sewell or whatever.
There you go. And he's like 3/4 as good as him. And he's not committing penalties at all. I'd rather take the guy who's 3/4 of the way, right? So then it comes down to coaching to make those decisions. And the penalties become constant. That's the problem. And it always rears its ugly head in the big games, in the big moments. That seems to be when it kills this offense. So that's where I guess my worry comes there. I would say my biggest concern, though, all in all, with the Packers is their unpreparedness for these big games, because they fall into these big freaking holes all the time. Vikings twice, Lions twice, right? They keep continuously falling into these holes against these good teams, and you can't afford to. You can't afford to against the Eagles, right? Because you cannot afford another game, because you can't handle this narrative one more time. The Packers come out slow. The Eagles go up big. The Packers claw their way back. They either take the lead by 3 or, they are within 3, right? It's a close ball game, and the defense needs to get a stop. You can't afford that. You can't, because your defense cannot get a stop. They have not proven it. They have not shown to be able to do it. They can't get that stop. You cannot afford something like that. So in this game, on this night, on that afternoon on Sunday, you have to come out hot. You have to be prepared. You've seen this team before. You know what they're about. They have a heck of a secondary. You know what their worst actual part of their defense is? It's their mid-range. Their defense struggles in the intermediate part of the field, 16th in pass from 10 to 19 yards. So they're 16th in the pass from there. The Packers are 15th on offense in throwing to 10 to 19 yards. So the Packers suck at throwing it there, and the Eagles suck at defending it there. So will the Packers take advantage of the weak point of this Eagles team? That's what we'll find out. That's what we'll find out there. I thought that was quite interesting there. But Aaron, I want to jump over here quick. I want to get to our fact of the day quick. I want to get to Hunter's hockey video, because we got to get to our Badgers Rutgers report there before we get more into the Packers here a little bit more. So Aaron, what do we have for our fact of the day today? What is it? January 8th. Wow. January 8th already. I'll pull up the history calendar.
Yeah, this one, I think you'll like this one. This is quite strange, but like cool at the same time, and weather related. So in 2010, giant self-rolling snowballs were found in the United Kingdom. So what basically it's describing this as rare snowballs that are formed in snowy weather with a precise combination of snow, ice, temperature, moisture, and wind. Self-rolling snowballs are also known as snow I don't even know. Snow rollers and snow donuts. Snow bales,
Snow
I think.
donuts.
Never knew that was like. I mean, it doesn't really sound like it's self-rolling when there's wind involved, though. Like, am I a buzzkill to say that, like, it didn't actually self-roll? I mean, it did, but did it? That's kind of where I'm at.
No, I get it. But I mean, it's cool. That's cool.
Didn't know that was a thing ever existed. I did not.
Mine's kind of depressing for January 8th on history. It's about a shooting rampage. So we're gonna go back to yesterday because yesterday is cool. Did you know January 7th, 1927, the Harlem Globetrotters played their first game?
I did not. I saw them one time. Have you
Hickenley, Illinois. There we go. Hickenley, Illinois is where they played their first game. Now we know.
Yeah.
And I watched them one time too. It's something that when you're a kid is awesome. When you get a little bit older, the new Harlem Globetrotters, I've seen videos. I mean, they're not bad. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not bad. And like for kids, awesome, right? But for everybody else, like
I gotta be honest, I don't want to get too long-winded on this, but for me it's the Savannah Bananas. Like I don't get it. I maybe I'm like the one person that doesn't get it. It's way too much for me though. It's like, wow. Yeah. Like this is extravagant. I mean, for people that like it, I don't want to offend them, but no, you wouldn't get. You would have to pay me a large amount of money to go watch that. A large amount of money. Like, that's just being honest there.
Fair enough on that one. So, Aaron, let's jump over. I want to look at a little Badgers because the Badgers got a big win over Rutgers on the road, right? We talked about how hard it is to win on the road in the Big Ten. And I saw I just had to say, this is the Badgers' first road win since January 23rd of 2024. That's last year. That's last year since they had a road win. That is impressive. Well, not impressive. That's actually bad. But like, that's a while. That's been a while since they had a road win there. But the Badgers get a big win, and this was a game where, and even John Blackwell said after the game there, this was a game where the Badgers were tested. I mean, they went out early. They were hitting shots early in this one. Badgers. It looked like, to be honest with you, this game kind of looked like at the half, it was trending towards what we saw against Iowa. I mean, the Badgers just couldn't miss going into the halftime break. They were shooting 57%. They were 5 for 13 from downtown. They were shooting 38% from three. I mean, they just looked like they were humming, right? It was back again. They were humming once again. And then the second half came around. The Badgers kind of went cold, right? They started to lose that heat. They were cooling off a little bit. And Rutgers closed that gap. At one point, I believe, I would have to look at the trend here. They had it within 2 at one point, I thought. It was real darn close there. Within 3. Within 3 at one point. They battled all the way back. It was, 16-point deficit at one point in this game for the Badgers. No, the Badgers were up 16 at one point, I should say there. And, Rutgers never led. Badgers led wire to wire in this one. But Rutgers closed that thing to within 3. And I was like, oh boy, like, here we go on the road. Like, Rutgers is feeling it. The crowd's into it. And the Badgers, it's like they took that big, deep breath, right? They took that big, deep breath. They relaxed. They calmed themselves in. They said, okay, let's go. Let's go get it. So Badgers win this one. Blackwell is phenomenal. He took over early in this one. He was phenomenal once again. He has been a bright spot since last season for the Badgers. We saw his development last season. Now we're seeing it even more this season. Blackwell continues to be a star in the making. If he's not already a star, he's just on his way to being a star there. Badgers got some stars working in that backcourt for him there. He's becoming a leader in that locker room, too. You got to remember that. Blackwell, not just on the court, he's also in that locker room becoming a big leader for him there. When Crowell just catches that thing and shoots it from downtown, I love it. I love that big fella with the rainbow little streak going across the gym there. Like when he just catches and shoots and doesn't think about it, I don't hate it. I don't hate that shot. So I love what he's doing there. Also, people who hate Steven Crowell, I get it. Like, you hate that he's soft and stuff like that. But this guy, when he's distributing the basketball and guys are cutting behind him and you have a 7-footer who's a willing passer and just able to just dump it off right over the top of a guy straight down to his guard, cutting down the lane, that is beautiful. That's a thing of beauty. So I love that. I love seeing that out of Steven Crowell in this one. So a great game from Steven Crowell. Kamari McGee, he has developed into a great offensive weapon. He was a great defensive weapon. He was a spark plug. Now this guy's hitting turnaround jump shots. He's step back jump shots over top of guys who are bigger than him. I mean, Kamari McGee's only a 6-footer, and he's shooting over top of guys. Like, he is, I mean, wonderful. Just wonderful to watch. Had a couple of big shots there in the first half for the Badgers there. Kamari McGee looked good for him in that one. Nolan Winter continues to be a big factor for the Badgers. I mean, this game here, he got banged up. He was out for a while, had a cut on his hand, I guess, and they had to pull him out, and they just never really put him back in. But outside of that, Nolan Winter has been phenomenal for this Badger team. Distributes the basketball. When he gets downhill towards the rim, I love it. I just love seeing him move towards the basket there. He's got that 3-level capability with that ability to drive. Love what I'm seeing out of Nolan Winter there. Klesmit, I don't know what that was. So, Aaron, I don't know if you saw that thing going across social media with Klesmit on that jump shot where he got hurt. But Klesmit, so Nolan Winter, the play that he got hurt on, the guy kind of flung him, and the ball ended up in Klesmit's hand. And as you know, you've watched enough basketball to know it, that guys will just shoot after the whistle. They just shoot at the basket. Well, Klesmit goes to shoot, and he jumps straight up. There was no forward. It was just straight up. And the guy, I can't remember what his name was there from, I believe it was Williams, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but I think it was Williams there for Rutgers, comes up and he like goes under him as he's shooting after the whistle, right? Goes under him. Klesmit comes down, rolls his ankle because he lands on Williams' foot, and he rolls his ankle, so he's got to leave the game because he's hurt. I mean, he's hurting now. He had to get helped off the floor. Like, he's in some pain, and no call. No call. This is after the whistle. And I get, right? Late shot. It's a late shot. But guys do it all the time. They do it all the time. But what gives a guy the right to walk underneath of that shooter then? What gives you that right? That has to be it's a dead ball foul. Dead ball. Like, the ball's dead, but guess what? Flagrant foul. Give it to him. Excessive contact, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you want to call it. It was something. There had to have been something on that play. I just don't get it. Klesmit comes down, straight up, straight down, just shot a jump shot, just normal jump shot, right? And nothing. He just gets hurt, and we look at it, and we're like, oh, what's supposed to be happening here? I don't know. It was dirty. That was a dirty play. I hope that guy knows that was dirty, and I hope I guarantee you he did not get his a-hole chewed, because if I had Ace Bailey on my basketball team as a coach, that freshman from Rutgers, I would smack him upside the head. I would just smack that guy upside the head. He is the most undisciplined basketball player I think I have watched in a long time. And we saw guys who went to Duke. We saw Diamond Stone. We've seen all these basketball players, these guys who you would expect to be undisciplined. Ace Bailey's one of the biggest crybabies I think I've ever watched on a basketball court. I mean, it was utterly ridiculous. And then it was that one on the free throw when Gilmore was in the middle, and Ace Bailey, to box him out, turns, lowers his shoulder, gives him a boom, and like turns at him to box him out, turns straight at him, lowers the boom on him. Gilmore kind of falls back, and then Gilmore shoves him back as kind of like a retaliation. It must have, after the play was done. They give double technicals. Ace Bailey gets one. Gilmore gets one on the play. I mean, I'm watching this, and I'm like, how do you give one to Gilmore? Like, the dude just got rocked. He just got rocked. And you're asking him not, what's he supposed to do? Like, stand there, like, just take it like a man and move on with life. Like, I want you to retaliate. I want you to throw. Ace Bailey just drives me nuts. Like, don't get me wrong. A boatload of talent. This guy could be he's going to be a great player if he gets the right coach. Right now, watching him with Rutgers, he is the most undisciplined turd I have ever watched. And he needs a good coach. He does. He needs a good coach that can set him straight, set him on the right path. Otherwise, this dirty play and all this crap, it ain't going to fly. It ain't going to go very far. Not in the Big Ten. not in big boy basketball. Because you start doing, he has Max Klesman on him. Max Klesman, right? Ace Bailey is a 6'10 guard, right? We talked about him in our previous show. He's a 6'10 guard. Max Klesman is 6'4. Max Klesman's guarding up Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey hits a little turnaround on him there and gives him the too small, right? He gives him the too small look walking away from Max Klesman. And I'm like, dude, he's 6'4". Like, I get it if you're 7 foot going on 7 foot and you throw the hammer down on a 7-footer or something and you want to give him the too small to mess with him, like, because he's, realistically not small, right? Max Klesman's 6'4" guarding a 6'10" guy. Good for you. You scored over top of him. I would hope so. Like, congratulations. Like, that drives me nuts. That is one of the things that utterly drives me nuts is when guys do stuff like that. Or like the stupid, 3 to the head thing. Like those all drive me nuts. Everything drives me nuts. But when Ace Bailey did the too small to Max Klesman, I was like, yeah, he is. Like, I don't, like, you're not hurting Max Klesman's feeling when you're a 6'10" guy and you score over top of him. Like, he's like, yeah, good job. Like, I don't know what you want. You want a high five? Like, I don't know. Watching Ace Bailey, and I don't know if anybody else who watches him or like watches Rutgers basketball or watches. He's undisciplined. That's what he is. He's an undisciplined basketball player, and it's gonna hurt him. It's definitely gonna hurt him. It hurts Rutgers. It really does. I mean, he got in foul trouble, fouled out of that game. He wasn't having the greatest game, but he's still a threat on the court there. So I mean, that's definitely something to watch. Like I said though. Rutgers in this game, they made their runs, but the Badgers, they did a good job on the road, taking the punches, right? They threw the punches, then they took the punches, and they didn't waver. That was the thing. They took those punches on the road with the environment turning against them, and they just, right, took that deep breath, settled in. It helps to have the veterans, just older guys in that unit that are like, okay, we're fine. We're fine. Like, just relax. We still got it. We're good. We just got to calm down, right? And it all worked out, right? Badgers win this one. A big one, too, I think. Tanjay didn't have a huge scoring game, but, I mean, Aaron, when I watch this guy around the basket, I mean, he had 15 points. I just said he didn't have a huge scoring game. 15 points is pretty darn good. But watching him finish around the basket is like, I don't even know how to explain it. It makes me like, my head goes, how did he make that go in? Right? You get those sometimes. You're like, how did that just happen? When John Tanjay goes to the basket, you are just expecting something magical to happen. Like, when he had one where he just kind of flipped it behind his head, got her going on the reverse, and I was like, did he shoot that? Like, how did he shoot that? Like, that didn't even make sense how he shot that. Like, it is just, when he drives, it's just like, hold your breath, see what happens. Like, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting when he gets there. And then gets the foul line a lot. I mean, Badgers only shot 6 free throws in this game. That is another impressive stat. They shot 6 free throws in this game. And I'm pretty darn sure, if I can find it, their first free throw did not come until late in the second half. Aaron, can you see on the sheet there when their first free throw came in this one? Because it wasn't until, it was late in that second half that they got to the free throw line for the first time. I'm pretty sure it was John Tanjay who got to the free throw line for the first time for the Badgers. Right there at the 3:28 mark. So with 3 minutes and 28 seconds left in the game, John Tanjay got to the free throw line, and that was when the Badgers shot their first free throws of the game. So guess what, Marquette? We can win games without free throws because we were winning when we got there. So shut up, right? That's what we want to hear. Shut up. Done with you there. So a good game all the way around. You had 2 main scorers there with Blackwell and Tanjay. Crowell gives you 18 with 10 rebounds. You love to see that. Xavier Amos got involved in the action there a little bit, 4 points. 6 points for Kamari McGee off the bench there. Gilmore had a big 3. My wife, when he shot it, was like, no. And I was like, yeah. Bang! Right? You get hype. You get hype for Carter Gilmore. I don't care, Carter Gilmore, I don't care that he shoots as long as he shoots in rhythm. If he catches and shoots it, that shot got pretty. That shot's pretty. If he catches and shoots and doesn't think about it, I'm good with it. Not go crazy with it, right? Not 7 times a game unless you're really feeling it, right? Unless you get the first 6, then shoot the 7. But like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, like I'm good with that. Like I'm not going to deny you 2 to 3 shots a game. Right now, if I had to guess, his 3-point percentage on the season, it can't be bad. 36%. I'll take that. I will take that twice on every Tuesday, right? I will take that every Tuesday twice. I mean, that you just love to see that. So I'm not afraid of Carter Gilmore shooting. Like I like seeing him shoot a little bit there. Penetration defensively, they did well to start this game. They were holding Rutgers for a while there to a low margin. Rutgers did well. I mean, they were getting shots to fall though. They had, Akuf off that bench there. He was knocking out shots. They had one hit the back iron. It went straight up in the air like 30 feet and then came back down and went down straight through for a 3. I was like, all right, that's the night we're having here. Jack Janicki deserves a block on his resume, though. No blocks in this game. He went up. He blocked the guy. I mean, point blank, like all ball. Like you watched the replay and like he stuffed that guy and they called a foul. And I tweeted right after that, I said, this is how the Badger game's going right now. And it was Jack Janicki blocking that ball. Like I was like, that's just how it's going. I mean, it was fouls were, if you ask my wife, it was terrible. It was terrible. They weren't calling nothing for the Badgers. And at times I believe it. Like at times I was like, yeah, I agree with you. But all in all, 15 fouls for the Badgers and 16 for Rutgers. It was close. I mean, it was close. There weren't a lot of fouls called. And when they did, it was like they swallowed the whistle at times, and then at other times they just let that baby go on the stupidest of things. Sometimes you just got to let it go, right? Just if you're going to let it go, let it ride out like that. But, I mean, the rack is a dangerous place. We lost Trayvon Jackson out there a few years back there during that Final Four run. When we went to Rutgers, we lost Trayvon Jackson out there to a dangerous injury there. Now Klesman and Winter go there and get hurt. I'm telling you this right now, the Badgers should petition to never have to go to Rutgers again. We just keep getting guys hurt when we go out to the rack. Like, I'm done with this place. I don't want to go back there. Like, done with them. Done with them out there. Don't want to go back. It's just, I don't like that place. I don't like, we just get hurt out there. But turnovers were a problem, Aaron. 16 turnovers for the Badgers. 16 turnovers. Ain't going to cut it. You can't be turning the basketball over 16 times in a game and expect to walk out as a winner. Now, on the road, 16 turnovers and you still win. That's impressive. Like, hats off to you. Somehow pulled off a game there. I don't know how, but somehow pull off a game. Maybe it's because Rutgers was just not shooting the ball well at all, and your defense was playing well. I mean, Rutgers shot 25 for 73 from the field, so that definitely does help in that department. But, Aaron, I mean, anything that I missed there, anything that you saw, I mean, from the top of your head, any of the stats that you saw that you're like, those jump out at me?
Not especially, right? I mean, I think, this was a game, like, I know you had a little bit of pause for concern. Like, Rutgers, like we kind of talked about, previewing this, that, Rutgers not the best record in the world, right? Not amazing record, but they're a good story.
Dangerous, man. They're dangerous.
Right. They're kind of like, I don't know. There's, Exhibit A, Exhibit B. Like, there's teams out there in other sports you can think of. I don't really want to play that team, but they're not that, they're not that great, but they show up. And, like, I mean, I still think Rutgers, like, the score, yeah, it does look a little lopsided. I mean, Wisconsin just played consistent throughout, though, I thought, really is what I'm, getting at there. And, I mean, just a good shooting night, too. And on the flip side, Rutgers just didn't shoot that well. So, I mean, you're going to have that. You're going to have that, I think, kind of, things we've kept going over there. The turnovers, you want to see that eventually clean up. That's kind of been something we've kind of talked about all year. But yeah, I mean, I think your point on Steven Crowell, like when he can pop a 3, like the guy I don't want to say he looks like Dirk-esque, but like it kind of does. There's like something to it, right? Maybe it's just he's a tall white guy. I don't know. Maybe
that thing just floats. It just floats.
And it's like it's almost like robotic how he does. Like Dirk was like robotic, like there's guys that like you watch Tanjay, he's like smooth. He's like Kyrie, right? It's like smooth as butter. And then Steven Crowell's like got that robotic, like you have to put oil on him for him to go up and shoot it. But you're going to have those guys. And like when you can have a, tall dude just banging threes, like you gotta appreciate that too. Cause not everybody can do that either. So yeah, I mean, overall, decent game. Like you take, and especially on the road, I'd like to see maybe the offensive rebounds kick up. I mean, Rutgers there with 18, Wisconsin only with 6. You're going to want to see a little bit closer margin there, but I mean, yeah, that's other than that, I mean, it was a good played game, and they looked ready to play. Point blank period, like, that's a cliche, but they looked ready to play in that game to me.
We got apparently there's a commenter on TikTok. I'm trying to find it here. I'm working on it.
I'll switch you over there too.
Do we have a comment over on TikTok? Now I'm lost. I just got a message on my one thing. I don't have no idea. I think it's from Warm Kids, Wisconsin. Their non-contact injuries are rough. I wonder if all that work to strengthen the hamstring did damage to the knee. It could have. I mean, you focus in one area, you kind of weaken another. It happens. I mean, there it is. Oh. I'm good. Choked myself up on a cough drop. I mean, a cough drop was floating around. You ever had it floating around back there? You almost choke on that baby. Like, keep that thing. Keep that thing.
I can't lie to you, Trajan. I've had a lot of weird, I don't want to say. I mean, one of them was probably near death, but choking episodes. I've had 3 or 4, maybe 5, where I was like, I'm gonna see the light. Yeah, I've been at this for probably 30 seconds. It feels like 10 minutes. So it
was like 2 minutes. It was like 2 seconds there. I'm good on this side.
But see, those 2 seconds are intense though. Those 2 seconds are. So I
just choked myself up and talk. I'm good over here. We got everybody's worried now. They're like, what's going on with this guy? So we gotta get to an ad break. We got to get to Hunter's Hockey Report. We got to get to a little bit more yet today here. So let's jump over. Let's get to our ad break here. We're way late for our ad break. So let's get to our ad break. We'll come back. We'll get to Hunter's Hockey Report. He was down at Wrigley, so he's going to tell us about the men's and women's game down there. We're going to listen to Hunter there, and then we're going to get more into the Packers, a little college football playoff, get our picks in, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. So we'll see you guys on the other side of the break.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Marshfield Motor Speedway, located 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great racing. I cannot think of a better way to spend a summer day or night than down at the track. Next is Sports Scene in Marshfield, Wisconsin, located at the Marshfield Mall. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sports cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. And then we have Peggy Sue Beslick, Century 21. Do you want to find your dream home or maybe looking to sell your current property? Let Peggy Sue Beslick at Century 21 help you with all of your housing or property needs.
New year, new you. Buy, sell, get into something new. That's what you got to do. That's the motto, right? That's our new motto here. We got to get over. We cannot miss Hunter's Hockey Report because he was excited. He was down there at the games this weekend, so I want to get to Hunter's Hockey Report. We'll come back. We'll talk more Packers. We'll look ahead to the college football playoff coming up tomorrow night there. And Friday, we'll pick our games there. Oh, my goodness. It's a hot finish to this one. So we'll see you guys on the other side of Hunter's
Welcome back,
Hockey
Badger
Report.
fans. Hope you guys all had a great holiday break and a good new year. Let's get right into the action. Last Thursday, despite holding a 3-1 lead midway through the second period, the Wisconsin men's hockey team fell 4-3 to number 1 Michigan State at Munn Ice Arena. Michigan State opened the scoring 5 minutes and 36 seconds into the game, but Wisconsin's Gavin Morrissey evened the score at 1 with 1:55 remaining in the period. Owen Lindmark made it 2-1 for the Badgers just 51 seconds into the second period on a power play goal, before Sawyer's goal doubled Wisconsin's lead at the 5 minute and 27 second mark. MSU found the back of the net 14 minutes and 26 seconds into the second period and again 57 seconds into the third to tie. The Spartans scored once again with 5:05 left in the contest to complete their comeback and claim a 4-3 victory over the Badgers, with former Badger Charlie Strammel getting the game-winning goal. On Saturday night, after overcoming a 2-goal deficit and then tying the game with 48 seconds left in regulation, the Wisconsin men's hockey team fell 4-3 in overtime to number 1 at Michigan State at Wrigley Field as part of the Frozen Confines Big Ten series. Michigan State opened the scoring 15 minutes and 36 seconds into the first period before adding another goal 4 minutes and 29 seconds into the second to take a 2-0 lead over Wisconsin. Wisconsin battled back with goals from Gavin Morrissey and Quinn Finley each scoring in the final 10 minutes of the game. But the Spartans secured the win in overtime, and Wisconsin is now 9-12-1. But I want to say they've been over 500 since November 1st. That first month of the season, they played just absolutely terrible. And I definitely they're getting votes to be ranked, but I definitely believe they should be like 18, 19, or 20. They play really good competition, and they've taken them to overtime plenty of times, or if not beaten them. I think it's time to put some respect on Wisconsin hockey. Now let's get over to the women's. The Badgers women's hockey team had an impressive weekend, starting with a dominating performance on Thursday night. Senior Lacey Eden led the charge with 2 goals and 1 assist, helping the top-ranked Badgers to a 6-0 shutout against number 2 Ohio State in front of a sellout crowd at LeBron Arena. Freshman Scannell also contributed with a power play goal, while Lila Edwards, Casey Hall, and Sarah Wesneski, that's a tough name, I just butchered that, I know, forgive me, added to the scoreline, securing the win over the Buckeyes. On Saturday, the Badgers faced Ohio State again, this time at historic Wrigley Field, as part of the Frozen Confines Big Ten hockey series. The game ended in a hard-fought 3-3 tie. The Badgers are now 21-1, and they have won the WCHA regular season series against the Buckeyes, who are 13-5-3, with 2 regulation wins and a tie against OSU. And I was actually at that Frozen Confines on Saturday. And let me tell you, it was cold. We actually left after the women's game. We didn't stay for the men's game. The women's game went into overtime, and then it didn't decide a winner after overtime, so it went into a shootout. And I want to say it took 7 frames, and then it went into sudden death until we finally got a winner, and they ended up pushing the men's game back an hour. So after we saw that, we don't feel like being out in the cold for another 4 or 5 hours. So we were already there. We got there at like 3 something. The game didn't start until 4:30, and by the time it was done, we were already out there for 4 hours. And they told us we couldn't leave the stadium, otherwise we wouldn't be able to re-enter. And all up on the scoreboard, it always said, stay warm, whatever, do what you have to do. So we thought that we'd be able to, leave Wrigley Field and go across to any like Wrigleyville, any of the stores there, and warm up for a bit. And we were told that we can't re-enter. And then as we were leaving, we saw people scanning their tickets out to re-enter. So it would have been nice to know that ahead of time, for sure. But also, if the Big Ten ever does this ever again, definitely have the games earlier. Like, have the first one start at like 11 or noon, and then the second one start at 4:30. Like, the sun goes down at 4:30. You can have a lot better weather, warmer weather for players and fans to enjoy more, and you probably see quite a few more people come out. It just made for a really long night. My family, we didn't want to get a hotel, so they drove from La Crosse area all the way down, picked me up at the Wisconsin or Illinois border pretty much, and we drove the rest of the way. They dropped me off here, and then they made the trip back up. So they were in for the long haul and long day of travel for them, so I don't blame them not wanting to stick around for the men's game. I wish we would have, honestly. I know I could have handled it. I'm a carpenter. I had my bibs. I had my Carhartt, everything. I was warm. I knew I could last another 4 hours, but some of the people I were with, I don't think they could have lasted another hour. So if they ever do this again, I would like to see the games moved up a lot earlier, and then we wouldn't have to run into hockey games starting at 9 o'clock at night when it's 10 degrees outside. So yeah, hope you guys all have a good week.
There we go. There was Hunter's hockey report. Were you sneezing on the backside?
Dude, I can't.
Mute your mic, all right? Mute your mic.
I didn't know, like, once I'm off screen there,
somebody was sneezing in the background of Hunter's video, and it was you the whole time. I was like, oh, do I say bless you? I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. Like,
I thought we were muted. I thought that took us off. Like, I'll be honest.
Nope.
I'm learning.
No, our mics are hot. Our mics are hot when we're back screen there.
Thank God I didn't get, like, a little just fired up because I'm sneezing over it. Like, just dropping in F-bombs or something. You never know what could happen.
That sounds absolutely like that sounded horrible. I mean, it was like 9 degrees, and then the sun goes down and it gets miserably freaking cold, and all you're doing is sitting still. You might be able to stand up and jump in one spot, but like you're not doing anything. Like that is miserably cold. They won't let you leave for an hour and just go warm up somewhere and come back sit for another 4 to 5. That's just terrible. I don't like that. Hearing that, I'm like, I would never go back, but I expect nothing more from Wrigley and Chicago and everything else that happens in that craptastic toilet bowl infested country of a state or whatever you want to call it down there. Wow. So, Aaron, I've been seeing all over social media. Oh my God. It's like we talked about it one time and I heard another show talk about it. I heard another show talk about it. Now everybody's talking about it. And it's just this whole thing all over the place. I keep coming back to social media and seeing the same thing. The Packers need a number one wide receiver. They need a number one guy. That's what they need. Desperately. They need a number one guy. And my question is, do they, right? They have multiple guys. We always say it. They have multiple guys. They have multiple number twos, right? They have Dobbs. They have Reed. They have Wicks. They have Watson when he's healthy. They have a lot of weapons. But the question is, do they have a number one guy? I look at it when I'm looking at this, and I think it's kind of rearing its ugly head as of late. But my problem is that, like, right now, I'm not going into Philly and saying the Packers can't beat Philly because they don't have a number one wide receiver. I'm saying the Packers can't beat Philly because of the execution, of the drop passes, of those little things, right? The Packers, I mean, we talked about it the other day of the separation rate, and I'd have to go back in my notebook there and find the separation rate of some of these guys. Right here. The Packers have 4 of the top 11 wide receivers in route win rate on the team right now. Romeo Dobbs is 3rd at 23%. Wicks is 4th. Watson was 7th. Watson's done now. But you have Heath at 11th. Melton is 70th. Reed is 80th. You have guys who are creating separation. You have some of the third best guy in Dobbs, right? Dobbs is out this last week. That doesn't help. But your guys are creating that separation. But where do we keep coming back to? It's like we talk about it all the stinking time. And yet we can't just get it through our heads to the point of the Packers are they're creating open passes. Now the question is, are we executing, right? Is Jordan Love executing and putting a throw on the money, right? Is he executing and putting it into a guy's hands? Because you're going to have drop passes. What's the easiest way to fix it is to put it in their hands, right? Don't throw it low. Don't throw it high. Don't throw it behind them. Don't throw it way out in front of them so they have to dive and catch it. Throw it into the breadbasket. Let them just catch it, right? Because then guess what? They catch it with their hands. They got the feeling now, right? I got the feeling, right? It's going to be a good night. You know that song there. I don't know. I'm trying to sing, right?
That was spot on. Spot on.
But you get
Black Eyed Peas for here.
Fergie, baby. You get that first catch, though, right? With your big old hands catch, right? Bam. Now you got that feeling, right? And now the next time Love throws out there and say it's a little bit behind, say it's high, say it's low, say it's a diving catch. You already caught one. You're confident, right? Your confidence is there. You're like, I can catch this, baby. I can snag it in there. I think that's what they lack sometimes, is that the accuracy of the throws from Jordan Love have been off. He's not leading guys. He's not making timely throws. We talked about the other day with Jordan Love. It seems like sometimes he throws to an open guy. He doesn't throw a guy open. He doesn't make those timely throws. That's where I kind of think Jordan Love's lacking right now. When was the last time we saw him throw into double coverage? It's been a hot minute. Just like chuck it down there and pray, right? And I know it's not a good thing to ask for. I'm not asking for him to just chuck it and grip it, rip it, and pray, right? Just see what happens. I'm not asking for that, but I'm also not asking for him to be overly careful. Because when you ask a guy, like, let's just say Brett Favre, Jordan Love, right? When you ask guys to be too careful, it takes away their game. It takes away what they can do with a football. What made Jordan Love good is that he wasn't afraid. He could just grip it and rip it, right? We talked about he has the highest velocity or highest miles per hour on a football throw, right? I mean, to the back of the end zone there to Kraft or whatever. It was the hardest throw that's ever happened, right? I can't remember what it was, like 65, 61, right here. The hardest throws in NFL history. Jordan Love, 61.98. Joe Milton was next. It's crazy looking at the guys on this list. Like Jordan Love's number 1, and then Joe Milton is number 2.
Doesn't make sense.
Who was Joe Milton?
He played for the Patriots. This
year, 2024.
Yeah. He just like.
Where's he from? Where is he from? Is he from Tennessee?
I think so. Yeah.
That's that quarterback from Tennessee, right?
I'm almost like I'm 95%. Let me see here. Joe Milton. Yeah. He played for Michigan and Tennessee. I don't know if he ever played at Michigan, did he?
I don't think so. I don't remember him at Michigan. I do remember him at Tennessee, though. I thought he was a pretty decent quarterback. I didn't know he played at for New England. That's kind of wild that they had Drake May and Joe Milton at the same time, and yet we still saw who the heck is the other guy? Who? Brissett, Jacoby Brissett. Didn't he start for a while? Like, why did we see Brissett when you had Joe Milton and Drake May? Like, throw one of them out there and just see what happens at that point. But like this list, I mean, you got Tom Brady in 3rd, Baker's in 4th, Patrick Mahomes in 5th, and then Josh Allen in 6th. Like, that's crazy to think that Jordan Love and everybody's like, Jordan Love can't throw a football hard, right? That's the common thing. He can't throw a football hard. He can't throw it deep. He's throwing freaking 61 miles per hour to the back of the end zone. Like, that is wild. And what's even crazier is if you rewatch that throw, the catch that Tucker Kraft had in the back of the end zone, like the 62 mile per hour, and he caught that baby with his hands. He didn't catch it with his gut. He caught it diving with his hands. Like, that is a piss missile that he caught in there. Like, that is awesome. That is awesome. Just to think that is as hard as that throw was is wild. That is just absolutely wild. But we talk about the number 1 guy, right? And, the biggest question for a lot of Packer fans is going against the number 1, defense here in the or number 1 pass defense in the Eagles there. How do you create separation, right? How are they going to create separation without Christian Watson? You have the guys to do it. You have it. Dontavian Wicks, we talk about him all the time. If this guy could just freaking catch, he'd be phenomenal. You have the guys in the room. Dobbs is a dog. You have Reed. I don't know what happened to Reed, but you have Reed. Tucker Kraft's a big-time weapon. You have Dontavian Wicks. You have guys who can be the guy. The question is, do you trust that they can be developed into that guy? Do you trust that you have the head coach in the system that can get those guys from point A to point B, and then from point B beyond? Do you believe that you have that coaching staff that can do that for you? Because right now, I don't know, right? Jaden Reed has kind of regressed, if you ask me. He's got a boatload of yards, but he's got a lot of drops. What the heck's going on? I have no idea. Dontavian Wicks, he's got a lot of drops. He's got a lot of he's got a good amount of targets, but he's got a lot of drops there. But if you look at his open rate or how often he's actually open, he's 3rd best in the NFL. So he's open a lot. When he's out there, he's open a lot. It's just a question of, can you get him the football? And when he do, is he going to catch it, right? And is that kind of way on a quarterback, right? Do I want to sling that baby in there if I'm not sure if my boy's going to be able to catch it? So it's all those little things that weigh on a team. And that's what we come back to with the mental focus of this team. How can you know if any of these guys are going to develop into being a guy? Christian Watson, I actually had a lot of faith in he was going to be a darn good receiver. I still think he can be. Don't get me wrong. I still think he can be. Injuries have always derailed him. Romeo Doubs, I love what Romeo Doubs can do. And for anybody who says that the Packers cannot blow the top off or go vertical against the Eagles just because Watson's out, have not watched enough Packer football. Because Doubs can blow the top off of a defense. So can Wicks. So can Heath. They have guys who can blow the top off of defenses. Now, I'm not saying they can do it at the same clip that what Watson can, but they definitely have that ability to go yard on you. So they still have that ability to go vertical. I don't know, Aaron. I mean, I keep coming back to it. It's like would it be nice to man-to-man coverage, right? You got to have a guy who's going to win in man-to-man coverage. You got to have a guy who's going to be able to get himself open. Now we look at the separation rate, we look at the win rate on routes. We know guys are winning routes, so it's like, what the hey is going on then? Is it play calling? What is it then that's not allowing these guys to either get open or for Jordan Love to make this throw? What is causing all this stuff? But would I be opposed to like a number one guy? No. Like if you could somehow rack up like T. Higgins to come to Green Bay, like sign me up. Like I'd take him. I'd take T. Higgins. Like that's just my personal opinion. Now that's going to be a boatload of money you're probably going to have to spend on the guy, but like, would I take him? No doubt in my mind.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think if you brought in like a T. Higgins, whoever it is, right, a number like a bona fide number one, it's going to make everybody else better. That's what I think. Because now you have to divert your attention to T. Higgins more so than like not to take anything away from these other guys, but you know, T. Higgins is like, okay, he commands that type of respect, that type of attention week in, week out. Where some of these guys, I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying that they're not on a consistent level like that. Like you put your Stephon, like not obviously Diggs isn't coming over, but like guys of that caliber, right? Like,
would you say like a Devontae Adams? You bring Adams back and like he's a vet, he's a little bit older. He's a great route runner. We know that. He's a great route runner. He's never made his money off of being the fastest guy or being the most, blow it off top, right? But he's a great route runner. He's still got that in his bag. He's still got that in his bag of tricks, and he's going to be able to help the young guys kind of, like you're saying, like progress, like work on their craft, right? Not spending all the money on T. Higgins, but still getting an experienced guy who can help out the other guys.
I like that. I don't love it, though, just because, I mean, looking at it here, 32 years old, he just turned 32 there on Christmas Eve. He has a lot of miles to me. Like, he's one of those guys, like and I'm not saying I wouldn't take him. It just, I wouldn't I would set a certain amount of,
it'd be a small deal. It'd be definitely a small deal.
And maybe I reached like a tiny bit, like I go a little bit further than I want if I'm the GM there, but it's not like I'm not, if it comes down to negotiating and he's like real picky and we're not like, I would not overpay for Devontae Adams at this stage of his career. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at. You know what? Speaking of that, I kind of want to pull up who will be a free agent for receivers there, but
the Packers could technically grab Devontae Adams right now if they wanted to, because technically, I believe he becomes a free agent already, doesn't he?
I'm pulling it up here. Let me see here.
I don't know when free agency. I know free agency is always open. Like you can always grab guys throughout the playoffs.
And Stephon Diggs is a free. I mean, he would. That's a lot of money. He's looking to get the most. Like they're saying, he has the most. Him and T. Higgins are like lockstep.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Wide receiver. I'm not seeing Devontae. I don't think.
I think they would have to bank on the Jets releasing him eventually here.
Yeah.
And then moving out, which I think they're going to. I think their plan was to release him. They're going to release Rodgers. They're going to release just about everybody off of the Rodgers brigade.
Right. Yeah. I mean, shoot. Let's see. Oh, here's a better list. Here's a better list. Wow. There's some players on here. I mean, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, if you trust his health concerns there. Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins. He's kind of getting up there, though. I mean, that's some guys.
They would be like a Devontae, basically just signing an aging vet to try and come in and kind of coach him up. Like Rodgers with Cobb. Cobb would just come in and coach him up for Rodgers until he got back there, during preseason or when the season started. He'd just show up and be like, yeah, you got him coached up, Cobb. You good to go.
It's you can play that strategy where, like, what would you say? You sign him to I don't think you're signing him more than 2 years.
No,
right?
No, maybe a year or two. You just bring in a guy like Devontae. He's a friendly face for the fan base. They all love him. They'd be like, great, he's back. He's still got the ability. Not over-the-top ability, but he's still got the ability. But you can bring him back in, and he can kind of just guide the young guys. help him out, right? Maybe help with the focus that is, I believe, lacking sometimes in that wide receiver room. Just something along those lines where it's going to help out the coaching staff with working with the young guys in this offense. And plus, we talked about that day, a leader in the huddle on the field, missing Aaron Jones. Don't know if Josh Jacobs is that guy. I don't think Jordan Love's that guy yet. The young guys outside of that, I don't know about them. I mean, Devontae Adams coming back in, that'd be a leader. I mean, he's always been known to be a leader, and, Rodgers kind of overshadowed him, but I think you bring him back, he's fine on his own. Like, he's a good dude. He's fine on his own. Like, don't bring back too much of a mess, but I mean, I'd be okay with that there. So, Aaron, I mean, that's about all we got for the day. I mean, we got Packer talk coming up on Friday. I don't want to get in too much tonight here because we got the preview show coming up on Friday. We got to get into that big matchup there with the Eagles over the weekend. So we're going to talk Packers-Eagles on Friday. We're going to talk, let's do real fast here, Aaron, because we will not be here tomorrow. Well, we'll be back on Friday, but the college football playoff game will already be going there. Let's do our predictions for this one. So we have the Thursday game, Penn State, Notre Dame. Who do you got? Penn State or Notre Dame?
I mean, I have to pick Penn State, right? I am worried. I'm nervous. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I am cautiously optimistic. But I mean, this is going to be a test, right? And we kind of talked real briefly at the beginning of the show, how Notre Dame and Penn State kind of play the same way. So I'm going to pick Penn State. I think it's going to be a close game. I really do. I really think it's going to be a close game. But I think they get it done. I think they advance to the national championship. And then on the flip side, I as much as it pains me to say, I'm going to take Ohio State over Texas. I just think they're probably the hottest team right now, which I also hate to say. But just being honest and transparent, I just think they're going to put up too many points. And I think that's a shootout. I really like, if that's not a shootout, I'll be shocked. But I think it'll be Penn State, Ohio State for the national championship. And that would be kind of bonkers, but I don't, one step at a time. But
I'm gonna work the reverse psychology on you. I'm gonna take
that's fine.
Notre Dame to win that game against Penn State in a grinded out defensive, run the football, smash mouth, just a great football game, like something I want to watch. Not a shootout, not a craptastic fest like Oregon and Ohio State was. Like, I want to watch some ground and pound freaking offense there. I can't wait to watch that game. I think we're going to see a lot of it. Riley Leonard's played well for Notre Dame. He's played well. I love what they've been doing so far. And so I think that's going to be a close game. I don't know who. I mean, right now, Notre Dame is favored by 1.5. I mean, that tells you how close they think this one's going to be here. And I think it very well could be in that 1.5 mark there. Like, this thing is going to be close. It's going to be right down to it. I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I think this one could finish as a 3-point game. But I like Notre Dame. I'm going to take Texas. I think Texas defense is going to – that's their strong suit, right? That defensive front. If they can slow down Ohio State, I think their offense can do just enough. Their offense did scare me a little bit against Arizona State at times. They did, got their points early, did just enough in that game against Arizona State, and then used that fourth quarter touchdown. The defense kind of late in that one. But in overtime, Arizona State screwed themselves. Texas shouldn't even be here. Like, let's just realistically say that. I mean, fourth down, what was it? 4th and 10 or something like the 4th and it was longer than 10, wasn't it? It was 4th in the century.
Yeah.
On that overtime play. And I mean, first off, how do you let a guy get behind you? And second off, what was it? 4th and 13. Yep. 4th and 13 there. First off, how do you let a guy get behind you? And secondly, how do you let him get behind you and into the end zone? That's my question. Because that guy was cooking wide open. And actually, my original thought was, oh my goodness, don't miss the throw. Just don't miss the throw, Quinn Ewers. Like, money shot right there. And then, I mean, to start it out then in that, got that 2-point conversion, then won it. I mean, it was just a heck of a game. That was a heck of a game. I did not expect that one to be the best game of the weekend there. Did not. Not at all. Like, I was like, Ohio State, Oregon, that's going to be a good one. I didn't know about Penn State and Boise State or, Notre Dame and Georgia, but I was like, Ohio State, Oregon, that's going to be a good game. Did not expect Texas and Arizona State to be closer than Ohio State and Oregon. Did not. Like, not at all. Not even any part of me thought that was going to be the case. So I'm going to take Texas and Notre Dame. That's going to be my national championship. And I think it'll be good. I don't think there's going to be a bad matchup. Any of these matchups, I don't think there's going to be a bad matchup for the national championship. Like, there's not one side of this that's heavier than the other. I think that there's a lot of different styles. This bottom half down in the, Penn State and Notre Dame matching up, that's more like smash mouth, hard nose. The top half's more like finesse. We got a little more finesse here on the top. We got a little more explosive plays. The bottom, Drew Aller, I mean, that offense did hit some explosive plays against Boise State there. There was a couple of deep throws that he had there. But for the most part, it's not the receivers. It's Warren's. It's the trick plays. It's Warren's in the backfield. It's, Singleton. It's the backs. It's the backs doing the work, which is Notre Dame. Opposite for Texas and Ohio State. They love to get their playmakers involved. Golden, everybody like that. They love to get involved. So, I mean, it's going to be a tale of two different games right there.
I'll ask you this. So if, let's just, because I'm doing the hypotheticals, if it were to be Penn State, Ohio State, right? Like, let's just say for your sake.
Oh, Aaron, your dad's going to take you home.
If Wisconsin, right? Like, is your most hated Ohio State? Is that who you're like?
Depends on the year. I didn't play Ohio State this year. I hate Penn State more.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, that's fair.
I'm a fair weather guy. I go by year. And we play them both. I don't know.
My thing is, like, and I could see this like, because you know me, I'm sometimes a very much a pessimist, but if Penn State were to get to the national championship and then lose to Ohio State, that'll be worse than losing this. I know you have to play this game to know, and like you go out every game to win, but like that's what I'm trying to say. If you were Wisconsin and let's just say it's Ohio State, because I know you don't like them, right? They definitely don't like them.
No.
If they were to get to the national championship and then lose to them, isn't that almost worse? Like, the feeling of it's worse. Like, the impact on yourself is worse.
Yes.
Because that's the holy grail. Like, you got to the big game, and then
but we don't feel anything anymore. We played Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game.
We don't feel anything anymore.
And Ohio State had their third string quarterback out there, Cardell Jones, and we thought that we had a fighting chance as fans. We're like, yeah, Badgers got a shot. They're gonna probably win this baby. They got blown out 59-0 to a third string quarterback from Ohio State. So,
but trust me, like, being on my side of the coin, we feel like we can hang with them, and then we never get it done. Like, that almost might be, like, I'm not saying it's better in your position or worse, but the pain, like, my pain tolerance to this now is like, I just go into it expecting to lose. Like, because it's like 9 in a row, I think, until it's 2016, the last time they beat them. So that will, like, if it gets to the national championship level and then they lose like that, I don't know how I'm going to cope. I don't know how that scares me a little bit on how I'm going to cope. I mean,
you just come back to Wisconsin Sports on the Go and we just talk it out. We just call
it's going to be a therapy. It might have to be a therapist. Yeah. You might just call my show.
You got to think of it as a Wisconsin side of it, right? I mean, we don't even have a foot in the dance. You got to remember that. Like, we weren't even invited. We weren't even invited to the dance. We're up in our treehouse looking through our little scope down at the dance while all the cool kids are down there, and we're just chilling. We're holding a guy hostage right now. That's what we're doing. We're holding a guy hostage. You got all this madness going on, and we're holding the guy hostage in Luke Fickell's basement right now. Like, that's what we got going on. We just love the conspiracies and everything like that.
I will say this. I think as fans of teams that aren't, like, even Penn State, I mean, we haven't knocked on a national championship since the 80s, right? So it's like, for either one of us, if our team pulls it off one of these years, like, it'll, like, if you're Ohio State, and I know Ohio State hasn't won it in a while, but they've won so much that, like, the joy of us winning will, like, that will completely overtop the joy of like for Ohio State, because like they've been there, done. Like I'm not saying that's not fun, but like I remember watching the Eagles win their first Super Bowl, and I was like, this doesn't even feel real. Like just because when you have a team that hasn't done it in so long, it's like all the stars have to align just to get you in a position like that, where Ohio State's like business as usual. Like and I mean, I'm not saying that wouldn't be. I don't know what that feels like, but it's not the same. It can't be the same like wow factor.
Yeah. No, I would agree. There's so big games coming up tomorrow. Penn State, Notre Dame. Friday, Texas, Ohio State. We'll be back on Friday. We'll talk about that Penn State game just in case Aaron needs to cope. We'll talk about that game on Friday there on the show here. We'll preview the weekend. We're going to have Badgers, Minnesota to talk about. The big game coming up on Friday there for Badgers men's basketball, coming off this last win, 12-3 now overall there, and 2-2 in the Big Ten. Bucks going to be in action. We're going to talk about the Bucks on Friday there. We're going to talk Packers, Eagles, because we have to. That's a big game coming up this weekend, and we cannot wait for that one. Because, Aaron, honestly, I have hope. There's hope. It's there. We're still alive. You get into the playoffs. Everybody's got to remember this. Only a select few teams get to be in the playoffs. The rest of them have to experience the long offseason already. We get a little bit more time. We get another week where we get to go, and we get to go to Philly, play the Eagles, and guess what? This is what I'm going to end it on. This is what we ended on, Aaron. The Packers, last time they went to the Super Bowl, they started that trip in Philly. They went to a dome in Atlanta, and then they played a division rival to go to the Super Bowl. Guess what? If they beat Philly, they go to Detroit. They probably end up playing Minnesota, and then they go to the Super Bowl. So you know what? The path is there. It's all there right in front of them. They just got to follow the prophecy of Aaron Rodgers. That's what they have to do. So with that, for Aaron and myself, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Friday. But until then,